Next Door Neighbor by Peter Filler. Chapter 7 Parents. In Galveston, most kids didn't have the best parents. Some were too busy, others were barely around. A few tried their best, but it still didn't feel like enough. All kids wished they had good parents. The kind that cheered for you at your soccer game, helped you with your science fair project, or just made you feel like you mattered. But for Jodis and Jenix, good parents didn't just mean support, they meant safety, secrecy, and survival. And for that, they had Uncle Stan and Aunt Mary Ann. As for Aaron and Alexa, they had Dennis and Liv Armstrong, who always said they did the best they could. Life hadn't exactly gone easy on them. Both had been widowed young. Both were trying to raise a child alone. And both, somehow, wound up in the Lakewood Church gift shop last Easter Sunday, looking for hope in the form of religious jewelry. Dennis and his son Aaron were eyeing a silver Jesus on the Cross necklace, while Liv and her daughter Alexa browsed the bracelets featuring Mother Mary charms. That's when Aaron leaned in and whispered, "Hey, Dad, that's my classmate, Alexa. Can I go say hi?" Dennis glanced up, recognized the girl from Aaron's stories, and nodded, "Sure, son." While Aaron and Alexa caught up, Liv approached Dennis with a warm smile. "So that's your boy?" "Yeah," Dennis said proudly. "Cute kid," she said. "Thanks," he replied, then took a leap. "You like cheeseburgers? There's a new burger spot across the street. Would you and your daughter like to try one?" Liv rolled her eyes playfully and said, "Sure. Alexa and I are starving. Let's go." That lunch changed everything. They laughed over fries, swapped stories between bites, and found they had more in common than they ever had expected. Both had wounds, both had strength, and both had hearts that hadn't given up on the idea of a second chance. Midway through the meal, Dennis worked up the nerve. "Can I call you sometime?" Liv didn't answer right away. Instead, she pulled out a red pen from her purse, wrote her number on a napkin, circled it with a heart, and handed it to him with a wink. "Yes, you can." Dennis fist pumped under the table, grinning like a teenager. By the time they left the restaurant, they were already texting. Within 2 weeks, Liv and Alexa had moved in with Dennis and Aaron. They sold Liv's house and made a new home together in Galveston. 3 months later, Dennis and Liv were married in a small beachside ceremony near the Pleasure Pier. The sky was golden, the waves were calm, and Aaron and Alexa, once just classmates, were now officially siblings. They became the Armstrongs, a blended family, born from loss, healed through faith, and strengthened by love. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes Aaron and Alexa bickered like all siblings do, but the house was full of life again. Laughter, arguments, movie nights, board games. 2 parents doing their best, and 2 kids still figuring it all out. And even if things weren't always easy, they were better together. Aaron and Alexa Armstrong hadn't been getting the best parental guidance. Their parents, Dennis and Liv, were deeply in love. Too in love, some might say. Since their whirlwind marriage, they had become completely consumed by each other, forgetting that parenting didn't end at "I do." The truth was, Dennis and Liv had grown distracted, even selfish. They didn't notice the warning signs. They didn't take time to listen. Their kids began to annoy them, to feel more like a burden than a blessing. And instead of rising to the challenge, they pulled away. Now in the middle of the school year, The consequences were impossible to ignore. At Buccaneer High School, phone calls home to the Armstrongs had become a daily routine. The office staff knew their number by heart. Every afternoon brought fresh reports of misbehavior, missing homework, eye-rolling, defiance, and refusal to follow basic directions. Aaron and Alexa were frequent flyers in after-school detention. On parent conference day, Liv and Dennis always gave the same dismissive answers. "I don't know why they're behaving that way. We're just as confused as you are. They're good kids. This doesn't sound like them." But everyone can see the truth. Especially Dr. Robert Moses, the school principal. Dr. Moses had gotten to know Liv and Dennis very well, too well. He saw them every week when they had to come sign out their kids after another round of detention, and every time they shrugged, smiled awkwardly, and asked the same question. "We don't know what's gotten into our kids. Any ideas what we can do, Dr. Moses?" Dr. Moses, a tall man with tired eyes and too many years in education, had heard it all before. But with the Armstrongs, it was frustrating in a new way, because he didn't just suspect they were lying, he knew they were. They weren't clueless parents, they were absent ones. Their children had become monsters, and somewhere deep down, they knew it was their fault. They had stopped parenting and started avoiding. Aaron and Alexa had picked up on that quickly. They learned there were no consequences at home, so they stopped caring. They acted out, did what they wanted, said what they wanted, and no one stopped them. Why would they? Aaron and Alexa had become impatient, rude, and intolerant. And the worst part? No one could hold them accountable. Not really. Not without their parents' help, and help wasn't coming. So that afternoon, when Dennis and Liv stood sheepishly in Dr. Moses' office once again, the principal took a deep breath, straightened his glasses, and made a choice. He looked at them both, hard. A long, uncomfortable silence filled the room, the kind of silence that made people shift in their seats. Finally, he spoke. "Yes, there is something you can do." They leaned in. Liv's voice trembled slightly. "What? What can we do?" Dr. Moses reached into his desk drawer, pulled out a thin paperback, and placed it firmly on the table between them. The cover read, "Developing Character, a kid's guide to making good choices." "You can start," Dr. Moses said, "by guiding them. Read one chapter of this book to them each month. That's it, one chapter. Then, ask them to commit one way they'll work on their character, just one improvement per month." Liv gasped. Dennis looked down, red-faced. Dr. Moses stood and walked them to the door. "It's the end of October. We'll meet again before Thanksgiving break and discuss how it's going." He opened the door, ushered them out, and finally allowed himself a tired sigh of relief. "Whew," he muttered, because he knew the truth. Nothing would change unless Dennis and Liv did. At Buccaneer High School, there was a saying among students and teachers alike. If there's chaos, Aaron and Alexa are probably nearby. By November, the Armstrong siblings had become the school's biggest disruption. They didn't just act out occasionally. They did it daily, almost like it was their mission. They had made a name for themselves as the most disrespectful, loud, and unpredictable duo in the building. Teachers dreaded seeing their names on their class rosters. In Mr. Fisher's English class, Aaron refused to read aloud, rolled his eyes during lessons, and muttered insults under his breath. He had even been caught throwing spitballs once, and when confronted, he just smirked and said, "Relax, it's just paper." Meanwhile, Alexa had taken things even further. She mocked other students, during their presentations, interrupted lessons with sarcastic comments, and once walked out of a class after being told to put away her phone. "You don't control me," she snapped as she left the room. No apology, no regret, just defiance. Worse still, Aaron and Alexa had developed a reputation for targeting other students, especially the ones who were quieter, different, or tried to follow the rules. Their favorite targets? Kids like Jodis and Genix Parallax. They whisper loudly during class, make rude comments when the twins spoke up, and giggle whenever Jodis answered a question. "Are you from another planet or something?" Aaron would sneer. "Seriously, who even names their kids Jodis and Genix?" Alexa would laugh. Their behavior didn't go unnoticed. Students began avoiding the Armstrongs entirely. They didn't want to end up in their line of fire. Even teachers, worn down and frustrated, began rearranging seating charts just to keep them apart from their classmates. But it wasn't just the students who were suffering. The teachers were burning out. "I can't reach them," said Miss Perez, their science teacher, during a faculty meeting. "I've tried being patient. I've tried being strict. Nothing works," added Mr. Fisher from English. "It's like they feed off the attention, good or bad. They just want a reaction," sighed Miss Quintanilla. The school counselor, Miss Judge, had already called Liv and Dennis multiple times. She'd even scheduled one-on-one sessions with Aaron and Alexa, but neither took it seriously. Aaron joked through the sessions. Alexa started staring at the clock. "This is dumb," she muttered. "Can I go now?" Detention wasn't working. In-school suspension didn't faze them. The situation was growing worse. So Dr. Moses made a decision. If Liv and Dennis weren't going to step up, the school would have to. He called an emergency meeting with the faculty and counselor team. "We need to intervene," Dr. Moses said, "for the safety of our students and the learning environment, and for Aaron and Alexa, because, whether parents realize it or not, they're heading down a very dangerous path." "What kind of intervention?" asked Miss Judge. Dr. Moses folded his hands seriously. "Something real, something personal. We pair them with students who show strong leadership. We give them responsibility, structure, and accountability. We try, one more time, to reach them before it's too late." Everyone nodded, though some were skeptical. "And what if they push back?" asked Miss Perez. Dr. Moses smiled faintly. "Then we push harder, with love, but firmness. We don't give up. Not yet."